All right. All right. So we have to act on two sets of minutes. The first are from the October 28th special meeting, and the other is from the November 16th regular meeting. I'll entertain a motion to approve the October 28 minutes, and then we can have any discussion if there is any. Do I have a motion?
Peter,
I'll make it. Oh, yeah. Priscilla makes a motion to approve the October 28th minutes.
I'll second, Peter.
All right. Any discussion?
I just want to thank you for putting my comments in, which I had asked for at the last meeting. That's good. Thank you.
Great. All right. All in favor? Say aye.
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 Any noes? Any abstentions? All right. I will take a motion to approve the November 16th minutes.
Paul Gleason, I'll make that.
Second from somebody?
This is Mike. I will second.
All right. Any discussion? All right. Hearing none. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
All right. Any noes? Any abstentions? All right. That's both unanimous. All right. We'll go to the reports. We're going to go directly to the administration report. So, Anthony, are you here?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. All right, so everybody should have gotten the report with the numbers for this past month. As you guys can see, numbers were up, but, we did close 2019 November, the first weekend, due to construction. So, as expected, those numbers were up. I think the more important number for you guys to look at is the July to November, fiscal 20 to 21. Those are the current numbers versus last year's numbers. You'll see we're up about 9,000 rounds over the year. So that's tremendous. Right now we're sitting at about 1.3 for HSR, and we are sitting at 286,000 in revenue for Par 3. These numbers are important because our budgeted number for the current year for Smith is 1.4 million, and for Par 3 was 208,000. So, as you can see, we're sitting in a pretty nice spot. I gave the Board of Finance an update a week or two ago on these numbers as well, and they asked me, where do you think you're going to finish the current fiscal year? So what I did was I just ran the numbers for 2019, spring of 2019, and just looked at April, May, and June, added those months, which were typical, non-COVID years, and I'm projecting that Smith will end at about 1.9 million and Par 3 at about 360. Which puts us up about 600,000 for the year over the budgeted number, which obviously was less because we didn't know what was going to happen with COVID. So,
and that's if we don't continue on the pace that we're on right now, right? That's if we continue on 2019 pre-COVID pace, which means we could be up a little bit higher too.
That's correct. I used very conservative numbers going pre-COVID.
Yeah. Could I make a comment? Because I did some analysis for the budget, and we had about a $400,000 budget to prior year deficit in revenue in the budget, and we're currently running at a $480,000 surplus versus prior year, which is an $880,000 year-to-date gain versus budget. I would expect that we should wind up closer to $1 million of excess above budget.
We may. I used very conservative numbers using the numbers from 2019, April, May, and June. Obviously, if the course opens up in March, we pick up an extra month worth of revenue or half a month worth of revenue. If we're still playing at COVID pace because people are at home working from home, then, yeah, these numbers will be significantly higher.
Yeah, and the only reason I'm doing that is in preparation for the budget discussion, because I think there's some things we need to do. And This is the golden goose, and I just wanted to make sure we're all on the same page that revenue, the expenses are pretty flat, right? I mean, compared to budget, I think we're close. Yeah.
Yeah, for the most part, expenses. I mean, when we get to the budget discussion, I'll explain where I came up with those numbers, and you'll see that the bonding for the new clubhouse also is significant because we're sitting at about $630,000 next budget in bonding alone, which is what puts us in the hole.
Yep.
Right. But yeah, we can have that discussion when we get down to the budget.
Great. Okay.
Great. And we can hold off on talking about the clubhouse building update. I think Craig Curley will be joining us to give us an update on that. So, Anthony, unless there's anything you want to talk about, we'll wait till we get to Craig's report.
Nope, I'm all set, and I know Craig is on the line, so I'm sure he'll be happy to give that report when we get there.
All right. All right, superintendent report. Peter, are you on?
Before we exit Anthony's, I have one more question. I'm sorry, it's Paul Gleason again. Anthony, I assume that the contracts have been signed, sealed, and delivered. Would we be able to get copies of those just for our own records to see how the contract wound up versus what our expectations were?
Yeah, absolutely. I know for a fact that we have the pro contract signed. I will work with purchasing on getting a copy of that. I do not know if the Boca contract has been signed. I know they were going back and forth with the town attorney and their attorney just on some minor things, minor language. But I can follow up on both of them. Absolutely.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, the last I heard that the Boca was settled, but to your point, Anthony, I haven't heard that it was actually, or seen that it was actually signed, but I don't think there are any open issues at this point. So, all right, Peter.
Can you hear me?
Gotcha.
Yes.
Well, we're closing down. Today was our last day. We got a big snowstorm coming in, so that pretty much shuts us down. So we'll shift this week to start taking the equipment apart, steam cleaning it, getting everything ready for the spring until we can get back out there. I mean, I don't know what the season's going to present snow-wise, but we have a lot of tree work to do, and I've got a lot. Well, there's a lot of work to do. If we're going to make a list, I'm going to have a list for you for next month. Well, next time we see each other, I'll email it out to you. But there's a lot of work to be done out there, drainage-wise, cart path-wise, tree-wise. So we just got to prioritize it and get together with the powers that be. I know Craig Curley, he sent out a big list for the clubhouse of all the work that needs to be done up there, whether it be done by us or done by contractors, electricians. So there's a lot to do. We're very busy. We got great numbers. The divots are unbelievable, but I didn't put them there, and I just got to repair them.
All right, good. Well, thank you. Yeah, I guess my only question was sort of what's the priority list of work, so that will be helpful. And again, it's good timing on the closure. We're about to get dumped on here, so.
It's just we got this changeover going on, and I just want to get everybody together. Everybody, you come up, Anthony come up. We all take a walk around and make a decision on what we want to prioritize and get done first.
Yep, that's a great idea. Yeah, we can do that.
Okay, that's all I have.
All right, any questions for Peter? All right. Hearing none, let's go to the Greens Committee.
Okay. Yeah, and I was going to put a question to Peter with my Greens Committee report. I was actually able to play up there Saturday morning, and the course was in really good shape. I was pleased. It was a little misting at the end, but I like the way that the 6T is coming along. Peter, your guys did a great job on that. I noticed that 9 needs to probably have some more sod in the back, and hopefully that'll take. And I'm not sure with the sod how it is now. Is the snow going to act more as like an insulation, or will it hinder that growth as we come into the spring? And then
the 9th?
Yeah, the 9th.
Yeah. we got sidetracked, and that's why it's far from being done, and
right.
With 12 inches of snow coming, not much is going to be done to it pretty soon. So
exactly.
We will get to it.
Will the snow hurt it or help it, you think?
It'll be fine.
Okay.
It's
and then,
New England.
Yeah, that's true. And then I would like to, when you Keith and whomever goes out and walks on the course, we had kind of, Sarah Laturza and I went out and kind of picked a spot, which I thought you were included in that as far as where we would like the fourth tee, just to make sure that you agree. Did you get that information at all?
Yes. I mean, yeah, it's the old getting around to it. Get the 60 done. You want me to get that? No, it's like I said, we got a lot of work to do, and we got snowstorms rolling in. So right now we're going to concentrate on the inside, but
right.
I aim to please.
Absolutely.
Those things will be all taken care of.
Good. Yeah. So hopefully that we can prioritize the tees getting done for the spring season for when we open up. That would be great. But yep. So the course closing, the timing was good, and so I'm glad I got out this last weekend. So that's all I have. I don't know, Paul, if you have something also.
Yeah, I actually had 3 points. One is last month I mentioned Peter was doing a great job cutting the grass, and this time I want to say that he's doing an even better job fertilizing. We have a superintendent that gets his hands dirty, and I appreciate that, Peter. Two things. One, we talked a little bit about tree warden. That will be, I guess, covered when we go over the listing of winter projects, but it sounded to me like you're on a good path with the tree warden relative to him doing some work this winter. Is that correct?
Well, that's another part of all getting together. I mean, there is so much tree work. I mean, you put down the first hole, you could spend 45 minutes there, and like every hole here needs tree work. Where do you want to start? Where we go around? Where we
one hole at a time. Yep.
And
so leading into so we were talking about a listing, and we were talking about doing a walkthrough. I would like to participate in that, and perhaps that we might even get the tree warden to participate with us as well, so we can start talking. And if we need leverage politically, and I'm not saying I can do it for you, but maybe we can start figuring out how to do that in a way that makes it easier for you getting in to do what you want to do. And I know this is a long-term project, but at least getting it started.
Yeah, the tree warden, he's resigned himself to being on our side. He understands what's going on, and now they planted a bunch more trees with the new clubhouse, which is fine. But a lot got to come.
I saw they rolled out the grass too. They came in rolls. That was pretty good.
I know. So, like I said,
but overall, I think
you got. I mean, Priscilla wants tees done. We got cart paths, tree work to do. We got the clubhouse. We got a bunch of things at the clubhouse to do. So we just got to prioritize it all and just get it done, and it'll all get done as soon as possible.
Well, I'm available whenever everybody else is to do the listing, review the listing, and to do the walkthrough. So, Keith, if you could just let me know, I'll be there.
Okay.
Paul, we'll do it Wednesday
at
5 o'clock when the snowstorm's hitting.
Hey, I'm a skier. I love the snow.
Ross, got you out there.
All right. Just taking some notes. Great. Thank you. All right. Craig, are you here for a Clubhouse update?
Yes. Hi, Keith. I'm here. Can you hear me okay?
Hello. Yeah, we got you.
Great. So happy to join you guys tonight and give you guys an update on the Clubhouse. Obviously, we're getting close to the end. But before I get started, I couldn't help but notice that you guys skipped over the staff report. I was actually the pro manager report. So I don't know if Jim's on or not, but I think everyone here knows I've been the chair of the building committee the last 3 years, and before that I was chair of the golf commission from 2009 to 2014. I recognize that Jim's contract was not renewed, but I just wanted to say thank you to him for all the service that he provided to the town. He was a pleasure to work with over the years, and was actually instrumental in helping with not only the 10-year plan back in the day, which really got the course back on its feet, I believe, but also with the clubhouse itself. So he'll be missed. I don't know if he's on or not. I know you guys skipped that report, but wanted to just make sure that was in the record. But I'm happy to give you guys a report on the clubhouse.
Thank you. Yeah, please.
I sent Keith and Anthony kind of a pretty detailed bullet point list of items. I'm not going to take you guys through that whole list, but did want to just hit on the highlights. Before we get into the detail on the building itself or the project itself, just wanted to let everyone know as we're getting closer to the end, we're estimating that we're going to come in about $140,000 under budget. So our original budget was $7.02 million. As of Friday, when we went through the most recent set of numbers, we were at 6.88, and that takes into consideration all of the expected expenses between now and the completion. But we're clearly in a good place. I'll take you guys through a little bit of the detail on that as well as we get going. But in terms of next steps, the final inspections are actually scheduled for later this week. So we're expecting, inevitably with a project like this, there's always some minor issues that need to be addressed before we get a final certificate of occupancy. But my guess is that we'll get through these inspections pretty cleanly. And if there are any follow-ups, we should have a certificate of occupancy in hand by Christmas, if not sooner. And then after receiving the certificate of occupancy, there will be a walkthrough that will allow anyone who is going to be working on site to participate in that walkthrough and kind of learn how this various systems work: the keying system, the alarm system, the lighting system, the sound system, the HVAC system. I imagine that DPW will be part of that process. Anthony should have someone from his staff join that process as well. I imagine Peter Grace and the new pro would want to be part of that, but that'll be coming probably in early January. This Friday, we're having a walkthrough separate from the inspections. We're going to have a walkthrough with the architect and the owner's rep to just create a punch list of items to be completed. If some trim work is off, or your typical punch list item to go through. And I suspect, depending on the length of that list, Werner will probably need a month or so to complete that punch list. So they'll effectively be done with the building relatively quickly. Couple of things, bigger ticket items remain. The actual lockers themselves for both the locker rooms and the bag storage room have not arrived yet, but they are scheduled to be delivered just right around Christmas, and those should be installed right around New Year. So that will be one of the bigger ticket items remaining. After that, it should be fairly small items. Werner will need to come back in the spring to make sure all the grass areas that needed to be seeded are seeded properly, and finishing touches on the landscaping and such. Let's see. In terms of furniture for the conference room, that has been ordered. A large table and 12 chairs, along with a credenza whiteboard, additional 10 folding chairs. I suspect that if you guys were so inclined, you could move your golf commission meetings up there. If not on a permanent basis, certainly on a periodic basis. So that should work. Yeah. We do have a trophy case on order as well, and we've got some wall space designated for the various leagues, the ladies club, the seniors club, the men's club, to hang their league plaques. Really, that space was designated in the corridor that runs between the locker rooms, between the parking lot and the pro shop. But that'll have to be coordinated. All the installation of that will need to be coordinated with the leagues over the off season. In terms of some of the remaining to-dos, all of the locker rooms and bathrooms will have the appropriate signage, but we're going to be looking to add additional signs to make it clear to the public as they come in the front door, which way to go to the pro shop and which way to go to the restaurant and which way to go to the conference room or the locker rooms. Those signs have not been ordered. We do have funding available for that in our budget, but we'll need to coordinate with Anthony and team to make sure that whatever you guys think is the appropriate signage, style, look, size, shape, color, is ordered to whatever specs you guys are looking for. In terms of the concessionaire, they cannot get in there until the certificate of occupancy is in hand, but we're close. And once we have that in hand, they can start to build out their kitchen and bar area. I do believe, to the extent that a permit is required, they're going to have to pull their own permits. But that they should have a clear sight to getting that work done during the winter in time to open up for the spring. One question I did have outstanding, and I don't need an answer now, but I just want to pose it, and that is my committee had asked me to follow up to see if the concessionaire has shared any images or design for the interior design concept, what the chairs and tables are going to look like and what the inside of the bar and the restaurant is going to look like. So that's actually a follow-up question I'll need to get some information on. Other couple of smaller items I did point out we have recognized that what we thought was adequate storage in the building itself may in fact be smaller than or less square footage than is required. And one of the ideas that I had suggested was to pull back down the hill one of those red sheds that were acquired earlier this year and brought up to the maintenance area, to perhaps bring that down, and that can be positioned behind the dumpster pad right off of the kitchen, and that would allow the concessionaire to have additional storage within a short distance where they can store additional tables and chairs or things like that. So that's one thing to consider. You guys, I believe, already acted on the Tucker Fund, where they're looking to donate a pollinator garden. So I think that's a fantastic idea. We do have to do some work to coordinate some exterior signage for cart path or cart traffic coming off the 9th green. We've had several golfers drive their cart around the back of the building or across the patio and then into the recently graded topsoil and seed, and with that being soft, they drove right into the mud. So we need to do a better job of identifying some spots where people need direction and creating some signs. I think what seems to be the most confusing for people is when they're only playing 9 holes. There's no clear indication as to how they get their cart back to the cart barn. So I think we'll have to work to create some signs there.
Craig, it's Paul Gleason. I was going to make a comment later, but since you're on this topic, in playing the other day, me being a walker, coming off of 9 going to 10, you're kind of walking right by the tee where there's carts parked for the 6th tee box. And it just seems to me a more natural way to have a path that goes behind that the dumpster area over to 10 for people that are walking. I don't know if you've thought about that, but the next time you're there, you might want to take a look at that, because it is going to be a little bit of a distraction for people when they're coming off 9 going to 10.
Yeah, Yeah, no, I agree, Paul. I've looked at that whole area, and when you look at a kind of a site map on it on paper, it all kind of makes sense. But when you're actually there and you look at it, it's not clear. And so I agree. There probably needs to be some path that forks away from that 6T sooner, but goes behind the
exactly, and then goes to the back of the tent. Yep, and then goes to the back of the 10th tee. Maybe you got to take some of those bushes out, but it will work.
Yeah,
it would actually make sense.
No, we definitely
funnel them directly to the snack bar, right? This is to get them completely off of it over there. But we can talk about that.
Yeah, and the other way to get there right now, and I think where it was originally intended, was to actually drive across the front of the dumpster area onto the sidewalk and then down towards the snack bar. But I think when people get there, they recognize that it's odd to actually drive on a sidewalk, and it's just not clear that that's the right path for carts. So bottom line is I think I'm not sure the timing on when that should occur, but I think we should give some thought to what's the right path. Let's place an order for some wayfinder signs so people in carts know where to go, whether it's driving through the parking lot to get back to the cart barn or turning right and then creating a new path to allow people to go right to 10. But I think that needs a little bit of work, and those changes are not in our budgeted numbers. But if it costs, I don't know, $10,000 to do that, we certainly seem to have the money available to finish that. And I think that's the type of thing that should be a project expense. But I think it's going to be important that we identify what it looked like and what it might cost in order to make those changes sooner rather than later, because I do believe that the building committee will be under some pressure in the next month or two to wrap things up. And to the extent that, this is an unknown change, that's not necessarily going to be a good thing. So I think it's in everyone's best interest to kind of give that some thought and figure out what the right way to map that is.
Especially if you're thinking of moving a shed down there.
Yeah, and we're also thinking about putting a garden in there as well. So it's going to be a busy area. In the budget, does the budget include any of the interior, exterior signage? I would assume it does, right?
Yeah, so we don't have exact estimates as to what that would be, but we have placeholder dollars there. Yes, we do have money. So unless we spend more than we figured, and I think we have probably $5,000 or something. I mean, well, it should be plenty. Any signage that we order will not impact our numbers.
Yeah, so it doesn't come out of the 140.
Again, it's Paul.
That's what you're saying. Hold on a second, Paul. So it doesn't come out of the 140 then. I guess that was my question.
Correct. Yeah. So if we didn't spend it, perhaps our surplus would be 145, right? But that was taken into consideration. Yep.
Okay. Sorry. Go ahead, Paul.
I was surprised not to see that there's been any work started on the starter shack. What's the plan for that?
That was my question.
Yeah, great question. There are two small projects that are two small pieces to the project that have been put on hold by purchasing. One of which is the completion of the fire pit on the patio itself, and the other is the starter shack. Both to complete the fire pit is going to cost roughly, I think it was about $3,400 in total. $2,400 in materials and about $1,000 for hookups, both plumbing and electrical. And then the starter shed was going to be $10,000 for the shed itself, fully assembled with all the electrical hookups and such, and fully delivered fully assembled. And we also had about $2,500 in the budget to allow for materials. It doesn't need a poured concrete slab. It just needs a bed of crushed stone, and it needs to be. We need an electrician to. We have electricity service out to the spot of the starter shed, so it's ready. But we need an electrician to hook that up, and we need someone to actually anchor the shed to the ground. It's literally 4 screws that go into the ground. It's not a lot of work, but we have all of that budgeted. But purchasing has put a hold on both the starter shed and the fire pit. The starter shed, they need confirmation, or they're looking for confirmation that it is in fact a need. My understanding, based on conversations with both Jim Alexander earlier in the year and with the incoming pro, that it is a need, but purchasing is looking for our project to come in under budget, and that that these are truly needed. I believe we can demonstrate to purchasing that we're going to come in under budget, so that shouldn't be a holdup. Yet we've been asking for 6 weeks for them to release the purchase order, and they have not. So it's going to be about a 12-week lead time for the starter shack. So it was important that we already should have placed that order. You're not going to get it by March 1st at this point. So I don't know, Anthony, if you've got any updates from your conversations with Town Hall, but I've been trying to push this to get through for, like I said, at least a month and a half, if not longer, to no avail.
Yeah, this is Anthony, and I have spoken to the CAO. He knows both of these items are on our want list. He says that's not a problem. We will order them once this project is closed out. So as soon as the building committee is closed out and there's money demonstrated that there's money left over, the town will then give the okay to order the items. That is their stance, and it hasn't changed.
Yeah, and the unfortunate thing with that is because Werner is going to be coming back in the spring to handle the seating and some of their finish work, I don't anticipate that the building committee is going to finish their work until probably March at the earliest. So it's a bit of a catch-22. I kind of see these things as needing to be as part of our finishing. So we definitely are in a bit of a catch-22.
Anthony, I would suggest you send the purchasing department to every golf course in the area and find a place where they don't have a starter shack. How do you not have a place for the starters?
Yeah. Paul, the building was designed to not have a starter shed. I think that's the part that the town is getting hung up on. Now, we have a pro who's out the door who wanted one, and we have a new incoming pro who's looked at the design and said, I need one. So Craig and I both have reiterated that to the town, and now the town's stance is very simple. As soon as the building committee is done and they have money left over, we will use that money and order the starter shed. Until then,
isn't this in the budget already? And I know I know it's not your decision, Anthony, but wasn't this in the budget?
Yeah, Craig has accounted for it.
Yeah, and they have electrical already installed, right? Did I hear Craig? Did I hear you correctly? There's already electrical underground, so.
Correct. We made sure that before any of the paving was done in the cart staging area or the concrete was poured for the patio slab, that electrical was run out to the starter shed area, the final destination. So it's all ready. It just needs the shed to be dropped in place and plugged in.
Boy.
So so that's a catch-22. I'm going to continue to try and push to get that ordered because, like I said, I do believe it's a 12-week lead time. Even if we can get it ordered sooner rather than later, knowing that we're not going to wrap up, immediately, I'd like to at least get that ball rolling. But I'll keep trying, Keith. I don't know if you want to. You and I can connect separately. Maybe a note from the commission would help.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea. Happy to reach out to purchasing on that.
Can you hear me? Craig?
Yeah.
This is Peter Gray.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, how much is the starter shack? Just out of curiosity.
$10,000 for the starter shack itself, fully assembled and delivered, and then we allotted for $2,500 for the
to me, that's not that big of a deal. But I was just kind of curious, and let's all do a little walk around, and we'll get some things done.
Sounds good.
Let me ask you a question. That second shack up by the maintenance barn, is there a plan for that?
Well, at this time, no.
Yeah, that was my suggestion earlier, Paul, to use one of those two sheds behind the dumpster area for table storage or other storage for the concessionaire, so that it's in close proximity to the kitchen. I do know that when those two sheds were on site, there was a discussion with the building committee and the architect to see if one of those two sheds could be used, repurposed as a starter shed. And the concern was the size. The shed itself is quite large, and the location doesn't really support a shed that large. And I don't know that it would be in keeping with the architectural style of the building. So that's why we had done some research to find the enclosed 8-sided octagon with all windows, because it's going to be important for the starter to have windows on all sides so that they can see the putting green, they can see the first tee, they can see the pro shop, they can see the bags, the cart staging area.
Got it.
What is the size of the proposed starter shed right now?
A 10-foot by 10-foot, but because it's an octagon, it's a little smaller than that. I mean,
right.
From cross corner to cross corner, it's 10-10, but the shape makes it smaller, less than 100 square feet.
Where's the location right now? I'm trying to picture where it would be.
Sure. So if you can picture the newly paved cart staging area that has a cart path that comes down in between the putting green and the first tee.
Yep.
If your back is to the clubhouse and you're looking down that cart path, the starter shed would be just to the right of that intersection, between that intersection and the big umbrella tree.
Okay.
I think when we get to March, we'll have everything in place, one way, shape, form, or another. This is Peter. I mean, it's like I said, we do this walkthrough, we prioritize everything, we'll get everything done. That's all I got to say.
Great.
Okay.
And then one last thing I want to make sure you guys have on your agenda or on your list is that the building committee has money set aside or allotted for a sign for the building itself. But because Anthony mentioned that you guys were entertaining a new logo for the course, we're not proceeding to actually order a sign. Once you guys decide what the sign should look like, whether it has a new logo on it or not, I think what we talked about, in keeping with what the town has done in other facilities, like Parks and Rec, a freestanding sign with 4x4 post on each side to support it is likely appropriate. But ultimately, we're going to let you guys decide how to spend the money and what it will look like.
So what about street level sign? Is that what you're talking about?
No, what I'm talking about is a sign right in front of the building itself.
Right.
But in terms of the signage at Morehouse Highway, if you remember, the old sign was in the center of that island that everyone drove around, and it was two-sided. And both of those signs were actually salvaged prior to the construction starting. Peter should have those in storage, and I think the expectation was to repurpose those flanking the new driveway on each side, so you still have people able to see the sign regardless of what direction they're coming from. But there's no expectation to have new signs at the street.
Okay. All right, so we'll wait to hear, I guess, more on that. And Anthony, I guess we should talk about that along with you as to, A, what the signage should look like, but B, more importantly, are we going to do a new logo? And if so, are we going to incorporate it into any signage?
Yep, we could tackle that next month.
Yeah, okay, that sounds good.
So I didn't have anything else on my list, but I'm happy to take more questions if anyone has any.
Craig, it's Paul Gleason. I'd just like to go on record as a guy that was at the Patterson Club when they built the clubhouse at a 50% overrun. And I never really believed that you and your team could deliver this for $7,070,000. And I just want to congratulate you that you and your entire team, it's just, it's quite an accomplishment to put up a building like that and come in under budget. And I'm not sure people appreciate it, but I can tell you, I do.
Well, thank you. I do appreciate it, and I will convey that message to my committee. And I can say that we've worked very hard and had our eye on the ball on that number for a long time. We recognize that the town doesn't spend $7 million easily, and that it was going to be really important that we brought it in under budget. We couldn't bring it in on time. COVID created enough delays along the way, but I think given the circumstances, having it ready for the start of next season will be a good thing. And as it gets a little bit closer, we'll talk about the right time for a ribbon cutting. It'll be nice to put this one behind us.
It looks great. The building does look great. So.
It certainly does. Thank you, Craig.
Thank you.
Craig, this is Peter Sechrist. How are you?
Great.
Good. I just wanted to ask, I know when you were up with Karen, kind of looking over where the garden and plantings might go, I know I think you had spoken to her about there might be a need for some sort of path up there, and maybe this is part of the sort of discussion and figuring out how to get from 9 to 10 and 6 and all that. But I don't know if that was part of the budget, or if that still just needs to be kind of figured out along with kind of all the other egress and outflow. And so anyway, I know I may get asked for that by someone downstairs, so I just want to say.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Look, I'm happy to meet Karen up at the golf course and kind of make sure she's on board with what we're thinking about. Probably should do that with Anthony or Peter or some combination of other folks. But as I've walked that area quite a bit in the last month or so, kind of brainstorming, and I do think that there's plenty of room for the garden, the pollinator garden. I think it'll wrap around the area nicely. What I suggested to Aris Stalis, who's the landscape architect who worked on our project and also volunteered to assist with the Tucker Garden, that they do allow a pedestrian walkway through the garden to connect the 10th tee to the snack bar. Because at the end of the day, Smith Richardson has a lot of walkers, and they're not afraid to walk up or down hills or walk the course. And there's no question that if they need to go get a hot dog or a Gatorade or a beer, and they're on the 10th tee, they're going to walk right through the garden. So it's better, in my opinion, to plan for that and just allow a pedestrian walkway. But the cart path that connects the 9th green to the 10th tee will not interfere with that garden plan at all.
Right. Good.
Yeah, Peter, that's going to be part of the walkthrough with all of us. I mean, like I said, there's so many things to do that we all got to get together. We got to get all on the same page and prioritize all this. That's part of it. The 10th tee, I see a lot of plantings going into the left side. I was planning on moving the tee to the left. Now they want a garden over there. So now maybe we got to take things off to all those bushes off to the right. I mean, there's a lot. We got to look at a lot of things up here before we're just like, okay, this is the way it's going to go. That's why we just got to all walk around. We got to get all on the same page.
Makes sense, Peter.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Craig. That was super helpful and very interesting. Glad to hear that everything is moving along. Be interested to see. I mean, as we're talking here, it sounds like the CO could be coming, the next week or so, which would be great. And maybe that will open up some of the things with the town too. So,
yep.
Good work.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, just keep us updated.
This is Peter for one last time.
Cool.
Craig, I'd be remiss if I didn't say you've done a great job.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you.
I think we all feel the same way. Thank you and your committee.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah, great job. We can't wait to go up there and see the building.
And have the first beer. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's right. Craig, first beer was on us.
Yeah.
All right, I'll take it. Thank you.
Craig, it's on Keith.
That's right.
Love it.
I got it. All right. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate the time and all the information. So thanks, Craig. All right. Moving along. Next item is we need to elect our officers for 2021. At this point, I think I told most of you, I am interested in continuing to serve as chair for 2021. Is anybody else on the commission interested in serving as well? All right.
I just want to go on record saying, Keith, and I've told you this before, I mean, the job that you have done through a very difficult year and a very trying time has been nothing short of just absolutely wonderful. And I want to thank you for your leadership and everything that you've done for this commission. And I think that I would wholeheartedly nominate you for another term for the chairperson.
Thank you.
And this is Paul Gleason. I would second that recommendation and also congratulate you, Keith, for excellent first year in office.
Thank you both very much. You guys are both big helps, as you know. All right. So for vice chair, I will nominate Peter to continue in that position. He's been a big help to me. And for Greens Committee, I will nominate again Priscilla and Paul, both of whom I think do a great job on that committee. Is anybody else interested in running in any of those positions? All right. Hearing none, can I have a motion to approve me as chair, Peter as vice chair, and Priscilla and Paul as the Greens Committee?
This is Christine Hogan. I motion for that.
Thank you.
This is Mike. I will second that.
Great. All right. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any noes? Any abstentions? All right. Thank you very much, everybody. I look forward to 2021 being much quieter than 2020. All right. Prue, do you want to walk us through? I agree that I think continuing with the second Monday of every month is a good plan. Do you want to walk us through the dates then that you're proposing for 2021 for meetings?
Sure. Can everybody hear me? I did unmute myself.
We got you, yes.
Yep,
yes.
Hear you.
Okay. All right. So January would be the 11th. February would be the 8th. Monday the 8th. March is also the 8th. April would be the 12th. May is the 10th. June is the 14th. July is the 12th. August is the 9th. September is the 13th. Now, October fell on Columbus Day, so we could do the 4th or the 18th. That would be the 1st or the 3rd Monday. And then November would be the 8th and December the 13th.
What was the date of the September meeting?
Yeah, it's late.
September 13th?
Yeah, so let's push it to the 18th then for October.
Yeah.
October 18th. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Prue, I want to state that I hope that I'm unavailable on all those dates flying everywhere. and not.
Traveling. What is traveling? Yeah.
I know, and hopefully these will be in the new clubhouse.
Exactly. That's the plan. If we can ever meet in person again, that would be the plan.
I'm actually looking forward to a walkthrough. Once we get the CO, I presume we could do a walkthrough at one of these meetings, right?
Yeah, I was already actually emailing some people about that. Once we get a little further along, I think it would be good to do a walkthrough just for the commission again and kind of just walk us through all the aspects of the building too. Completely agree. So, all right. Anybody know, do we need to approve the dates, the schedule?
I think we do.
Yep. Okay. All right. I will entertain a motion then for the dates that Prue just listed.
I make a motion, this is Priscilla, that we approve the dates that Prue mentioned to us.
I'll second.
I'll second the motion.
For Liam.
All right. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Any noes? Any abstentions? All right. Unanimous. All right. I'm going to take the next two out of order. Let's do the budget first, and then we can kind of talk about 2021 at the end of the budget. Anthony, you want to talk us through the budget a little bit here?
Yep. All right. So everybody should have received from Prue a few different documents. The first one that I will speak to will be we'll just go through the expenses first. So I'll talk about the HSR fiscal year 22 expenses. Then I'll jump to Carl Dickman fiscal 22, and then I'll go over profit loss, which combines the revenues and the expenses. So for HSR fiscal year, it's a 3-page document, and you'll see a decrease of 2.1% overall. This is primarily due to it's due to the Golf Pro, the new Golf Pro coming in at a lesser rate than our former Golf Pro. So we had an 11% savings, almost 12% savings on that line item alone. The seasonal payrolls all jumped about 8%. And
Anthony, while you're on that, could I just ask a question? I'm sorry to interrupt, but you mentioned the golf professional being less. Was his final contract, what happened with the rent and utilities that he had in his proposal?
Nothing happens to it. I believe, however it was written, that wasn't anything that changed. So if it said that we were responsible for utilities, then we're responsible.
No, it said he was going to pay us rent, and it said he was going to pay us utilities, which, I just was curious how that came out.
I'd have to go back. I believe the only utility currently that was being paid by the pro was the cable bill.
Right.
And that wasn't through
us.
We just put it. I believe we just put it in their name, and they pay it. So that's not accounted.
Okay.
No, none of that's accounted for here.
Okay.
But back to the seasonal payrolls. So the seasonal payrolls, mainly what you're seeing is an increase due to minimum wage going up. So this year you're going to see it go up to $13. Next year it will be even worse because we're going to get hit with 2 $1 increases in the same fiscal year. So just putting that on everybody's radar for that big jump next year. For the most part, we're still paying our people minimum wage or slightly above minimum wage. So it does come with some good benefits at the golf course. So as far as utility numbers, we kept those all the same. Typically, we just look at averages over the last few years and budget those numbers, so those stayed fine. Maintenance and repairs, really nothing to report in here. When I was talking to Peter, those numbers, he pretty much hits every year, so I think he has a pretty good handle on what he needs to keep the course in the shape that it needs to be in. Our communications line went up, and so did our our printing lines, and both of those primarily went up, even though they're small dollar amounts. because we want to do a little more marketing for the golf course to keep the rounds up where they are right now. Cleaning line went up. I wouldn't say significantly. Again, it's a small dollar amount, but percentage, it looks big. Again, really due to COVID and just trying to prepare for all the additional state-mandated cleaning and stuff that they've thrown on us. It's got to be funded somehow. So it's in our operating budget. We did increase the special department supplies by $5,000. This line, for some years, had been around $193,000, and then we bumped it down to $190 to try to save some money in the budget. And you can see, looks like this past year we spent $195. So I said, you know what, let's just bump it up. And then the big one here is the capital outlay. We've got a $78,000. I don't know why the percentage didn't calculate there, but we have a $78,000 line item here for a new sprayer. And if you have questions about the sprayer, Peter can elaborate on that. But I know the one that we have, I believe, and again, he can correct me if I'm wrong, is a 2003, so it is very old and pretty much at the end of its life expectancy. We tried to put this in last year and it got cut, so it is back on the table. And then the rest of these lines, educational and travel and meetings, all stayed the same. So overall, the budget is down. Do you guys have any questions on anything with this? I know I kind of just flew through it, but I do expect some changes as I sit with the first select woman. She has not seen this budget yet. These budgets were all submitted today. So there will be changes as we go through the process.
So you have submitted these, though, to where so far, just to her or just to the Board of Selectmen?
This has been submitted so far to the Finance Department. From there, it goes to the first selectwoman who will sit with each department and go through the items. And she'll if there's something on here she wants to cut or something that stands out to her, she will make that adjustment and adopt it into her budget, which she will then present to the Board of Selectmen, who will adopt the budget through a vote. And then once they vote on the budget, it then gets passed to the Board of Finance, who will go through line by line, make their cuts and additions, and typically it's cuts. They will vote to adopt it, and then it gets passed on to the RTM, who does the exact same thing, except the RTM only has the ability to cut. They can't add anything back. So then they'll vote, and then that will be the adopted budget. So this process, I would have normally started putting these budgets together in October, so we're a little behind because of COVID. But the budgets were due to the Finance Department as of today. So this was already submitted, but again, it will change. So if you guys saw something in here that you're like, oh no, we absolutely need to do this, we could always add it or subtract it. It would just most likely be done at the first selectwoman level now, but by no means are these set in stone.
So Anthony, go ahead, Keith.
I was just asking if I assume that Peter Grace, if you're still on, have you been able to go through this budget? Are you comfortable with particularly the expense side of things?
Yeah, I mean, it's of course I want more, and but you got to basically play the game, right? I've wanted that sprayer last year. We got through it this year, but there's no backing down this year. And I've given Anthony going forward. We can have a sidebar on this, but I've given Anthony leasing options and this and that going forward, and we'll present them going forward. But for this year, I need a sprayer. That's what we want, and that's where we're going to go.
And in terms
are there any other critical pieces of equipment, Peter?
Oh my goodness, yes. It just seems like yesterday we bought fairway mowers, and now they're 6 years old, and we're working on it. It's just a natural process of changing things and trying to keep up with it. Capital keeps getting cut. Do some leasing, so I'm looking at the leasing option, and we'll bring it to the board next.
This, to me, that's the golden question. If you lease, it becomes an expense. And when you need a new piece of equipment, the leasing company provides it, and you keep paying the same amount of money or 2% more.
Yeah, and we got a golf cart lease coming up again too. So we got leases coming up. Do we buy and we lease? I don't know. So we got to look at all the options. So Anthony and I have put numbers out that we'll present later. I probably know when the next budget year sets up, but it's my equipment's getting old up here, and the equipment's getting old down at the par 3. And if we can ship some of the stuff, work together, just it is what it is. I backed down last year because of the COVID thing, and who knew that we were going to make so much money? So now I'm going back to the chief fiscal officer and the chief administrative officer. Hey, we need some stuff.
And here's a number for you. We're going to deliver $1 million of incremental revenue over their expectations. And that's why I did all that homework earlier doing the analysis. It's a no-brainer. We're already $880,000 ahead of where people projected us to be.
Yeah, but unfortunately that's gross, not net.
What do you mean it's gross? It's revenue.
Yeah, I know. I'm not going to. You know what? I'm sorry you even said that. I don't even want to get into that. But, yeah, whatever.
Yeah. Well, Anthony, I'd be more than happy to help you on this if you want to chime in. But the second question to you, Anthony, is did Bob and you have a conversation about the software for for tea times? That's obviously been an issue. We got an email earlier today, or I don't know, it's part of this package. People are not happy with our tea time software. Is that in here? Is there money for it?
Yep. So it just depends on the options that Bob is able to come up with. And so far, the town has made it very clear as we went through and we created a subcommittee last year, I believe it's around this time.
We did, yep.
Right, and the town said absolutely not. We're not bartering tea time. So the only option we have is a cash option. It seems that the cash options, again, right now are running around $7,000. And if that's the case, a year, if that's the case, that's easily within this budget.
Right, so we can do anything. Anthony, we can do anything below 10, right? Is that what it is?
So anything below 15, anything below 15,000, we can get quotes for. So as long as we have 3 company quotes, we can go with the lowest quote. Anything over $15,000 would have to go out to bid. And again, we've put this out to RFP twice now, and we only had 1 company bid, as you guys know. So, but
right.
When I spoke to Bob, I know he's looking at some other softwares that some other towns are using. I know Tashua is just currently switching for this upcoming season, and I believe that Bob liked the software that they're using, but kind of wants them to be the guinea pig for it first. So, again, we can talk about this. We have all off season. I would say at our next meeting we should probably have a real good discussion with Bob about what his plans are and when he would want to see this implemented. But this has definitely been a discussion. We can have that number in our budget. In the fees and professional services, it's not, that line is there already.
Yeah, because we need to do that sooner rather than later, just because there's got to be time for training and implementing the new system. So I definitely recommend that this is something that we need to discuss in depth next meeting.
Yeah, I think you'll hear about that coming up when we have that email. But also, to everybody's point, want to make sure that it's in here because I do think we're going to be looking at cash systems rather than barter systems. And there will be a couple options well under $15,000, it appears. So I think maybe in January we can start that back up in earnest and start looking at what some of the software that is out there and what the cost is. And we can really focus on it to get it in place. And I think the plan would be, at least Anthony, after talking to Bob as well, I think the plan would be to get it in place, as soon as possible, but it certainly won't be in place for, a March date. It sounds like it would be later in the summer.
Yeah, at the earliest.
Yeah. But it would still be, I
Anthony,
think, within 2021.
Anthony, in your chart, you showed bonding amortization of $178,000 in 2020. What was that for?
Let's stay on let's stay on the budgets first. I want to jump. If we're done with Smith, let me jump to Carl Dickman, and then I'll jump to the P&L, and we can talk bonds.
Okay. Yep.
Are there any other questions for the Smith budget, the expenses?
Just one thing, Anthony, with Peter.
Yep.
I see on here about golf cart leasing. Are we adding golf carts? Or are we keeping the numbers the same? Or
so purchasing is trying. This number does not include new carts, but purchasing is working on getting us a lease for 20 more carts, or an additional 20 carts. So right now I'm carrying that number in the different line item. Sorry, I should know right where this is.
There's mowers, tractors, and vehicles. That's probably not
it. I don't think it's that one, but I think it's one of these maintenance lines. That is just
okay.
It's accounted for because we account for renting carts for all our outings, for the few outings that we've had. So there is a number carried in there right now.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
So that's for
I'm
20
sorry.
new carts.
It's right below it.
Over the year. But that's for the year, right? That's not for, piecemeal for outings. So you're talking about you have a number in here that would cover 20 extra carts for the entire season.
So
right now storage.
Right now we rent carts for the outings, extra carts for those outings, and we carry. I found it's two lines right below that. It's the same line item. We carry $15,000 for extra cart rentals. So a lease for 20 carts is not going to cost us $15,000 for 5 years. So that number is probably a little high, which is fine.
Okay. Yeah, extra
the
cart
71,000 is for 66 carts. So that's why I'm pretty confident I can say it's not going to cost us $15,000 for 20 carts.
Okay.
Okay. Any other Smith questions?
Do you feel there's any risk to getting those 20 carts?
Well, the only risk is purchasing, getting it out on the street. I've been asking for months, but I know they're swamped there. It's only a 3-person department, so
yeah, I got it.
I know they're behind.
If they have a doubt, just show them the revenue. I mean, when you have this kind of an increase in revenue year over year, and I don't see it going away, 20 carts is not a big deal.
Well, I think the risk is every other course is looking for carts.
In terms of availability, I got it.
In terms of supply, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. If there's no other questions about the Smith budget, I'll jump to Carl Dickman. Here you guys will see a significant increase overall, 28.7%. I don't foresee this full budget being passed as it normally is cut. But starting with the seasonal payroll, a 31% increase. So the additional 1,300 hours here are in maintenance. Our foreman, John Johnson, has currently himself and 3 part-timers that are on staff with him down there. He's been begging for a 4th person for the last several years. We've continued to say no to him, and, with the increased amount of play that was down there this year, the course, is in good shape, but it could potentially be in better shape, he tells me, with one more person helping. So I said, you know what, I'll throw you a bone. I'll add the person in here, but I can't guarantee that it's going to get through. So between you guys and me, that's what that big increase is. It's 1,300 hours at $15 an hour, so it's about $25,000. The rest of that increase, or it's about $20,000, sorry. And the rest of that increase is just minimum wage going up. Some of the other line items, for the most part, we kept pretty much exactly the same as where they normally are budgeted. Again, John does a nice job of staying within his budget. The big increase is down in capital outlay. So again, John's kind of in the same situation as Peter, where he needs equipment. So there's 2 pieces of equipment here. one at $32,000, which is a Greensmaster, and then another $25,000 Procore, and then just it looks like $5,000 for topsoil for fairway grading. So again, $62,000 in capital outlay probably will not get through, but we will again make the push that this is what we need to operate that course. So again, puts our expenses for this budget up to $348 for the year, which is a significant jump over prior years. Any questions?
A couple numbers I calculated, Anthony. Year to date, it's January to November, 56% increase in rounds, 57% increase in revenue. That should get people's attention, being the fact that we were closed from January until May.
I'll just add you on top of the numbers, but one of our goals is having a much broader and more extensive junior program, and a lot of that's going to be run down there. So, I think if we express that to Brenda and whoever else that, there's going to be a lot more kids down there, there's going to be a lot more opportunity for, junior golf, and, that's going to take a toll on that course. So, they can't.
Yeah, having schools play now too, having more schools there as well.
About the kids. So,
right.
Anyway.
Completely agree.
Okay. All right, so I'll jump over to the golf P&L for fiscal year 22. So now on this sheet, let me just explain it to you guys. It's pretty self-explanatory, but the columns where you're seeing fiscal year 17, 18, 19, and 20, those are all actual numbers that we produced. Those are the real numbers. Fiscal year 21 is a budgeted number, so those are not real numbers to date, obviously, but those are projected budgeted numbers. So that's where we budgeted. I know we're ahead of those numbers in most cases, if not all cases. And then the far right column is fiscal year 22. So this is where I'm projecting revenue. So now there's really three ways that I'm allowed to project revenue. And I'm just trying to pull up the sheet. So I'm allowed to give my best estimate, I'm allowed to give a 3-year average, or I'm allowed to give a source document, which is a contract, which is typically used for a concessionaire. So really, when we're talking revenues here, I either can give my best estimate or an average. So what I did was the Carl Dickman numbers, I kept our 800 for driving range, our 2,000 for the carts as our best estimate because those are the normal goals and we're normally spot on with them. For the greens fees, I put 277 and change, and that is the 3-year average. That's still an increase of 35% over the 21 budget. So if things went back to normal, those are probably the numbers we would see. Again, not taking into consideration the current year where we're seeing the huge jump. And then I did the same thing with Smith. Again, playing it conservative, I took averages for the season tickets, the ID cards, the golf fees, the driving range, the cart rentals. Concession is a source document, so that's a contract. And then a best estimate for annual locker rental because the lockers we didn't obviously have this past year, and now we're with the new clubhouse. We actually will have 146 lockers available, which is more than we had last time we had lockers. So in the men's locker room, my understanding is there will be 30 half lockers. In the women's locker room, there will be 30 half lockers. I'm estimating, again, these are my numbers. You guys can change these, but I'm estimating that we'll have 20 of each rented at $40 for the season. So that's not very expensive, but they're $40 is what I'm looking at. These were the numbers we also used when Craig Curley and I and some others were presenting to the boards earlier in this whole clubhouse process. So I wanted to make sure that we kind of stayed consistent with that, but we could always adjust as we need. And then we have bag storage, which is where the current temporary pro shop is. There will be 86 full lockers available in there, I estimated that we would have 50 rented out at $125 for the season. So with those numbers, that gives us about $7,800 in locker rental for the fiscal year.
And those are pretty conservative, it sounds like, too. I mean, the chances are we're going to sell out all those lockers.
Yeah, definitely conservative. I think I booked, if my math is correct, it's about 60%. I was saying we would be renting those. So, yeah, obviously, if we hit 100%, well, then those numbers are up. So
now on the men's room and the women's room half lockers, do we have to do seasonal on those? Could we do daily?
We could do daily. I would just have to rework the numbers, and if you guys had suggestions as to what you'd want to charge for a daily locker. I mean, I don't know what other courses are doing. I mean, I could also look into that too. But then I'd still have to come up with some kind of projection on, what we would do for that. So again,
I guess it's probably not going to be. It's not going to be a huge change to your budget, so I wouldn't go out of your way right now to change the number. But I just think functionally, how do we want those rooms to work? Do we want them to be daily lockers, or do we want them to be seasonal lockers? To me, it seems like they would be daily lockers. Like people come in, they change, they go out and play, they come back, they grab their clothes, and they leave. It wouldn't be a seasonal where you leave, your shoes, and we're not really a country club, so I would think that's more of a daily, but that's something we can talk about.
And how do you get the revenue, Keith, under that concept? How do you collect?
I know there's ways to rent, to have automated rentals. You know what I mean? Like, I don't, I think of the gyms that I go to where, you pay to use a locker.
And you pay on a daily basis?
Yeah. I'm not saying that we have to do that, but yeah, you would pay on a daily basis. Exactly right.
Just seems like a lot of administration for Bob, but I don't know.
Yeah. Well, my thought, and that's a really fair point, Paul. My thought is these lockers are going to sell. I mean, are they going to rent for the season immediately? So somebody's going to come into that locker room. There's going to be no lockers. It'll just be there'll be no lockers, right? So that's my.
I made myself a note. Find out exactly.
What?
Yeah, go grab a locker. Is what that note
exactly.
$40. Oh. God.
Yeah, for $40. Exactly right. Sign me up right now. Yeah.
Hello.
Recorded. So, for example, a 20% increase.
Go ahead, Anthony.
Right now, 20% increase.
Is Paul talking?
Yeah, who's talking? There's somebody in the background. Would you mute if there's somebody who's got a TV on or something? There we go. Thank you.
Okay, sorry. I thought someone was asking me something. All right, so, Paul, back to, I guess we can jump to the bonding question now.
Yep.
So the bonding numbers that you guys are seeing in there, so in 17 there was 58,000, 18 there was 57,000, 19, 121, and so on. Those numbers are given to me by the finance department, and the early on numbers are the numbers that the town pays for the $100,000 that we were getting each year for the 10-year plan that we were doing. Now with the clubhouse being built, that money was approved in 2020. So it looks like the first payment was almost $42,000 for the clubhouse. We've got $74 for the course that we're still paying off, for a total of $116 and change. In 21, that number jumps for the clubhouse $267 and $73 for the course, for a total of $340. And then in 22, $559 for the clubhouse, $71 for the course, for a total of $630. So we're going to be, for the next several years, that bonding number is going to be, I've got $630, $617, $603, $589, $579, $563, and so on. This goes out for 20 years. So every time we borrow money, obviously we owe it back. So
but it seemed like a big number, $1 million in the first less than year and a half of the life of the clubhouse, and we only paid $7 million for it. That just seems like a big number.
Yeah, it's given to me by finance, which I assume works with their actuaries. Because these are the numbers, and they smooth them out, so it's roughly this. It goes down at the same every year. But again, for this budget, it'll be $559 and change for the clubhouse, and $71,000 for the course. So, that's a total of $630. Again,
so what's the 71 for the course? What does that represent?
That's the part of the 10-year plan. The money we owe for the 10-year plan, the $100,000 every year. That'll eventually be paid off by, looks like our last year is 2039 for the 10-year plan.
Okay.
All right.
So do we? Let me get this straight. Does the golf commission believe?
Who's this?
Yeah. All right. Keep going, Anthony.
Okay. Sorry. All right. So.
Hey,
that's.
Hey, Anthony, it's Craig. I don't know if you can hear me.
I can, Craig.
Okay, sorry. I was just checking back with my figures, and based on the anticipated bonding for the clubhouse at the full $7 million, the maximum. I know that the finance department is doing this in pieces. As they're drawing funds, but the maximum was like $400,000. So the $559 seems inordinately high to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with you, but again, these are the numbers they've given me. So this runs from 2020 to 2041. So the first few years.
Anthony, could you ask them to supply the golf commission with the principal and the amortization that they're using to give this to you, just so we can help you in terms of making sure whatever their assumptions are make sense?
Well, I could ask them to do that, but again, the numbers are what they are. I don't mind getting them for you guys again. I'm looking at them, but I can have them send it to me where I can send it to you.
What would be helpful is maybe what we could do is, and Craig, this is what you're kind of talking about, is what did we plug into these numbers originally, right? And why are they different, I guess? When we talked about the project initially and what the bonding would be and the estimates for the debt service on them, why are they so dramatically different than what I guess we first plugged in for these numbers? That might be helpful.
That's great, Keith. That's what I was trying to get at.
Got it. All right. Those are our budgets. Any questions?
Yeah, we got to play a lot of golf.
No, the only good news observation is the 558 for this year is going to be positive. Then minus 558 that we had in the budget, we're probably going to wind up positive.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, we will.
That's great news. If I were a town finance guy, I'd be celebrating.
Yeah, I agree with that statement. All right.
Okay, so you'll follow up on a couple things and then keep us updated as it's making its way through the town so that we're in the loop as to if there are any changes to the budget going forward.
You got it.
Okay. Any other questions for Anthony on the budget?
Nope.
All right. For 2021, one of the things that I put on here, and this is just more of a placeholder than anything, I just wanted each of the commission members to, what do we want to do in 2021? We have a lot of changes at the course. Let's come up. I want to be proactive here. I want to think about the things that when we're out at the course and we're playing, what are the things that, we want? What do we want to see? I have on mine actually the tee time system, which we can talk about though. Junior policy. I want to create a par 3 greens committee. We've already talked about it, but there's going to be a lot more activity at the par 3, and so I want to make sure that we're giving it the right amount of attention. Things like that, things that we can do as a commission. What do we want to accomplish? And so maybe in January we can talk about some things that we're looking for to accomplish in 2021. Nothing to do right now. Just start thinking about it over the next month so that we can hit the ground running in 2021.
I think that's a great idea, Keith.
Yeah, good idea.
Good. Well,
and Keith, can we assume that Bob's going to be there at the January meeting?
Yes. Yes, he'll be there.
Great.
All right. Where are we? Communications. We received 2 that I have here. First is from Brian Daly. He rightfully, as we've all been saying, he was asking about the tea time reservation system. I think that we'll all be hearing more about that in the very near future. I think that's high on all of our priority lists to get that taken care of. I know, there's just a lot of things that we can have our system do better. Not only modifications at tea times, but having notices. Mike Feinstein is on the call. Made a good point of there was a frost delay when he was out on one of these, and he didn't get a notice. From the tea time system, which one of the things it can do is it can notify us of those kind of things. There's a lot of ways to improve on it, and I think that's something that we should all put on high in our priority list to deal with starting in 2021.
Hey, can I ask that question? Will the concessionaire be on our call starting at some point?
So it's funny you say that. What I was planning on doing for January, I was going to have, obviously, Bob, who will be on all of our calls, but I wanted to have the concessionaire, assuming they signed their lease by then, which they should. I would have the concessionaire and Bob on, just both, again, to reintroduce themselves to us, talk about the year, to task them with the same thing of, what do you want 2021 to look like for you? What's your goals? How can we help? We want everybody to be successful. So what can we do to help make them successful? And so, certainly I'm going to ask them to both be on and, again, tell us about where they are. Has construction for the concessionaire started? Where are they on that? What's their timing? Talking about sort of the big picture, marketing. As you saw, we have a marketing budget. How can we help? What can we do? It's just sort of big picture for the year, have them both be on.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks.
Yeah, I think that'd be good. All right, last one we got. Yeah.
Just to add to the list should be our in January we should be planning for the whatever you want to call it, the opening of the clubhouse. I've had a lot of thoughts about it. That wouldn't it be great if we had our first round, in March, April, with maybe a pro like Jay Henry, joining our new golf pro. Maybe we could get our former golf pro Jim there. Get 4 pros out there on the course and just have a big bang over this great new thing we got going on.
Absolutely.
Just something we should talk about in January.
Ideas would be good. Yeah, agreed. I think a big blowout would be fun, and it would be appreciated, and it'd be a great time to introduce Boca, Bob, the clubhouse, all these changes we're talking about. It'd be nice. All right. Last email. Kevin Flynn sent us an email. He's noticed some people sneaking onto the course, particularly over by the driving range. I think that's something that we'll have to talk to Bob about for next season, and just, how do we deal with that and protect from people sneaking on. It's sort of been a chronic issue. I think it's a chronic issue in a lot of public courses, people coming on after hours, waiting for the pro shop to close and then, stepping out on the course at 7:01 or whatever time it is, and playing. So that's something else that we can talk to Bob about going forward for next season. I tend to play in the afternoons a lot, and I have not noticed that. But again, I haven't really been looking for it. So, but it's something that we can talk about next season. All right. Anything else from anybody?
Yes, I had a communication from Sarah LaTurza representing the women's group about a Snuga Pro Lady tournament in September. The date has not been set, but it would include 128 players, which would be 1 golf professional and 3 women per foursome. And I don't know if we can bring it up now with the schedule, or do we need to wait for Bob?
Yes, that really doesn't have anything. I mean, that's really a Bob thing, right? I mean, so we're expecting to have, a whole bunch of tournaments and outings this year, and that's really for Bob to coordinate. Sarah reached out to me. I talked to Bob. Bob's on it. He's going to talk to her directly. I mean, we shouldn't be getting involved in dates and schedules on outings. That's not a golf commission thing. But I hear the point, and it's great. It's a new tournament or new outing. My guess is that outing probably rotates pretty frequently, so I'm not sure it's going to be an annual thing. But it's great to have those, because I think that comes back to the marketing a little bit, is that we have a new clubhouse and people are going to be interested. So let's grab some of this attention right now.
So we can wait till January with that. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. Keith, Paul, as I was putting the next year's meetings into my calendar, I noted November 8th is Election Day. It doesn't affect me, but it might affect Anthony and Prue. So just to be aware of that.
Good point.
Not a presidential election. I don't think it's a big town election, but, just straighten out our calendar before we publish it.
Yeah, that's right. Anybody, should we move that? What does everybody think?
Should Election Day be Tuesday?
I'm still good with having it that night. I have no problem.
Yeah,
that would
see a problem.
That would be a Tuesday, right? Wouldn't that be a Tuesday?
Yeah.
I mean, I wrote down the dates. She said 11/8. I think these are all Tuesdays, all these meetings.
They're all Tuesdays.
No.
Oh.
Shoot.
No, they're Monday.
11/8 is a Monday next year, but Election Day would be Tuesday.
Yeah.
Well, all the dates that she gave us are... Oh, I'm sorry.
You're looking at the 2020
My mistake.
calendar?
I went out to... I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong year. Sorry, take it back.
All right. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn. This is Priscilla.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask you a question?
Yeah, who's that? I can't tell that voice.
Fred Santucci, 55 Barry Scott Drive, Fairfield.
No.
Thank
you, though. I appreciate it. Yeah, thank you. Approve, please. All right. Second for the motion to adjourn.
Adjourn. I second it.
I second the motion.
Don't be rude, because you don't have
all in favor, say aye.
Aye. I agree.
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Bye, guys.